You're listening to Uproar, a podcast of the Akron Zoo that gives listeners a behind-the-scenes look at the zoo, our amazing animals, and the dedicated people who work here. With your Uproar hosts, Zach Berkey, Randy Thomas, Sam James, and Elena Bell. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Uproar.
Welcome to Uproar. Today, we will be getting to know the Akron Zoo on a very deep level, the history of the zoo, where we come from, where we go. And to help us with our journey today, we have Linda Criss, our Senior VP and Chief Operating Officer at the Akron Zoo. She has been here for 33 years. I work very closely with her in my everyday to help bring excitement to the zoo. Well, that's mainly my deal. Linda handles a whole lot more. Linda, tell us, how would you describe what you do?
Well, according to my husband, I walk around and look at the animals all day. But actually what I do, my focus is guest experiences and guest services, all areas, food, retail, group sales, events, and also capital projects. So I build stuff.
Quite a lot. What is it exactly you do here, Linda?
Yeah, right. What do we got you here for?
So, Linda, you've been here for 33 years. Can you give us a snapshot of your journey starting here at the Akron Zoo to now?
So when I first came to the zoo for my interview, I was actually still in college, and I was interviewing to be an intern. And I was given instructions. Our entrance was completely different at that point in time. I was given instructions to open the gate and let myself in. And it was this huge wrought iron gate. And if you didn't hook it back, it would swing and hit your car. Anyway, so I came to the zoo and I was like, wow, this place is interesting and needs help. But I instantly fell in love with it because I saw all this potential. And so I started interning here, and then there was a position open as the public relations coordinator. So that was my first position here at the zoo. And I was responsible for memberships, which all these years later, I'm still responsible for memberships. And then events and all of our media and marketing, which at the time, I think our marketing budget was less than $2,000 a year. So Pat Simmons was our director at the time. She was amazing. She had all this great vision and inspiration for what we could be. And so we set about figuring out and set our sights on what we could be. And then we passed our tax levy in 2000, and that was really a game changer. So because of the support of the voters of Summit County, we've been able to rock the zoo and change everything. And the only thing at the zoo that's older than me, or been here longer than me, I should say. There's other things older than me, but has been here longer than me, is the restrooms at Grasslands. So yeah, me and the restrooms.
How many people were here when you first started? Roughly how many people were employed here compared to now?
There were 15 people that were total.
Including like zookeepers and everything?
Yep, there were 15. We had 3 zookeepers when I started. Interesting.
Was there no HR back then?
Actually, no.
It was a lawless land.
How many people do we employ now?
I think year-round, between full and part-time, roughly 140. It beefs up in the summertime because we hire another 60 or so folks to help us with our busy season.
Is the zoo considerably bigger now than it was when you started? I mean, that's a large difference in the amount of people that work here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's grown at 1,800%. Wow. So if you think about, like, trying to think the habitats when I first got here, the biggest habitat we had, it had jaguars in it, and we had otters. We had an old otter habitat that actually at the time was state-of-the-art. It was very nice. Underwater viewing. It was a really nice habitat. Those were probably our largest 2 animals that we had, were the jaguars and the otters. All of the habitats that we built, Legends of the Wild, Komodo Kingdom, Pride of Africa, even Grasslands area where we have Grasslands Cafe and the Snowy Owls, that didn't exist. The only thing that existed were the restrooms. So yeah, everything's completely different.
You mentioned all these new areas that you had a hand in building and developing. So can you give us a little bit of background on how do we do that? How do we decide what these areas are going to be, what the animals, what is needed.
So we ask the guests, our voters, folks who come to the zoo and interact with the zoo, we ask them what they'd like to see. And so that's one of our starting points is, finding out what our community wants their zoo to be. Our guests have said many times that they would like to see larger animals like elephants. Well, it would be completely irresponsible for us to have elephants. Because an example would be if you think about all of the animals that are in Legends of the Wild, we would have none of those animals because that is the amount of space that you need for one elephant. And you can't have just one. They're like potato chips. You can't have just one because they're herd animals. So you have to have a number of them. So basically our entire park would be an elephant habitat and nothing else. So that's not a responsible thing for us to do. So that's the other conversation that we have is affordability, good stewardship, the animal welfare that we can provide, what's the guest experience going to be, and then we decide what we're going to build. And then we have a whole process for selecting designers and construction companies and designing and building. So and we always try to make everything LEED certified. So our goal is LEED Silver, which is great, but that's a lot of extra planning and work to make sure that happens.
What's your favorite area that you have been a part of since you started?
I am very fond of Curious Creatures, partly because it's a project that we primarily do in-house. We do the design ourselves. We do hire some contractors to help us with moving walls around and electric and all that, but otherwise it's the vision of the staff. It's working together as a team to come up with the theming and actually painting the walls, which I did in Curious Creatures.
As did I.
Yes.
They're beautiful walls.
They are beautiful walls. You actually forget that you're not actually inside a submarine when you're in that area. Plus, the animals in that area are so cool. I'm partial to octopus, so and I just think it's a really interesting experience in Curious Creatures.
It's cool. I had no idea the staff had played such a big role in making it.
Yep.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
It's so professional.
I know, right?
Couldn't even tell.
We're a professional zoo.
Right.
Throughout histories of zoos, I think conservation and education are relatively new phenomenons to zoo culture. Can you kind of walk us through how the Akron Zoo started implementing education and conservation in our mission?
So I wouldn't say it's a new phenomenon because since the very beginning of accreditation, education has played a major part, as has conservation, in being able to be an accredited zoo by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, which the Akron Zoo became accredited for the first time in 1989.
Okay.
And so, but it definitely has evolved. And the evolution of it is how, education and the impact that it has. And how do you measure that impact to know how you're really influencing and changing people's viewpoints about nature and the environment and the work that they need to do on an individual level to do their part. And if you think about there's 8 billion people in the world, if 8 billion people did one sustainable act or conservation act or made one decision a day for the benefit of the environment, we could stop the climate crisis or at least slow it down and really make a difference for wildlife. And that's what education in zoos and aquariums is about, is how do we make that impact? How do we change behavior, which is very hard. If you've ever tried to be on a diet, you know how hard behavior change is. And so, we're trying to change the behavior of essentially 8 billion people to get them to do something.
You talk about the impact that our education department, the role that we have in their community, like what are some things that they do that most people don't know about?
We are reaching thousands of people through our education programming. STEM education is a huge part of what we do, and so we have grant-funded programs where we are able to work with Akron Public Schools, Canton City Schools, and be able to, expose children at an early age to conservation, to wildlife. And so giving people an opportunity who might not otherwise have an opportunity to engage with animals and nature, and encouraging appreciation for and making that connection. So, I mean, the gamut of programming that we do, everything from experiential learning programs to career programs where kids in junior high and high school can come in and learn about zoo careers, vet days that we do with our veterinarian staff. So it's a wide range of things.
What did we have when the zoo first started versus what we have now?
We used to have an entire area of sloths. We used to have about 50,000 sloths here at the zoo.
I can't even right now. Don't get me started, Linda.
You had me at first. I was like, wow.
Just kidding. We've never had sloths here at the
I was
zoo.
like, wait. I was
On
like,
Granny's
you
mind.
said 50,000. I'm like, what?
That was for Elena because she loves sloths, and she's been petitioning since she got here 15 years ago for sloths, and we've never had them. Okay, so we used to have an area where we had rhea and cavy, so it was like a South American multi-species habitat, and that was actually right in front of our current animal hospital where Wild Asia now is. We used to have on top where by the wild prairie restrooms, we used to have an Australian exhibit that had wallaby in it. That was one of the habitats that we had. Golden eagle. We had a golden eagle. She was
Go
really,
Flashes.
really awesome. Go Zips. We had a kangaroo. No, we had a wallaby. Actually, really on. This was before my time. We actually had a baby elephant here at the zoo.
When you were here?
No,
Oh.
this is way before my time. We didn't have a whole lot. We had more snakes than we do now. We had an entire reptile house, but we had probably roughly 10.
So whenever I imagine like past zoo, I always think of it as like these things were always there, and then we just expand in one direction or something. But it's really just all reconfiguring the land that we already have.
Yeah, so when you used to walk up the hill in the center of the zoo, when you got to the top of the hill where the eagles currently are, there used to be what we call Monkey Island. Here we had spider monkeys there originally to it, and you looked down and it was a moat of water, and then in the center was an island. So you think that's exactly where Eagle is now. Completely different.
That's cool. Yeah, I have a lot of memories as a kid about like what the zoo kind of looked like. Since working here, I always try to like place exactly where these things are. So,
Sam, you were a kid like 5 days ago.
Yeah, I remember last year the zoo was very different. All right, Linda, you ready to play a game?
I'm ready to play a game. I'm
All
very
right.
competitive, by the way.
Well, you've got to beat 3, so
Got some competition.
you got some competition. So here at Uproar, we like to call it 10 questions. How it will work is you will ask us 10 yes or no questions in order to determine what animal we are thinking about. Okay?
I have to ask the question?
You have to ask 10 yes or no questions.
questions.
Yes.
Okay.
But to make it a little bit easier, since it's normally 20 questions, I will tell you we're thinking about a type of reptile. All right, Linda, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, ask away.
Does the reptile have legs?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and one other thing, Linda. We have live fact checkers here on part of our podcast crew. So here at Uproar, we will do, if we don't know an answer to something, we'll do our fact checking devices and make sure to answer you appropriately.
So basically, you're telling me you're going to be on your phone?
We're going to be using Google, yeah.
Does it have a shell?
No.
No.
Does it breathe fire?
That would be so cool.
That counts, and no.
Is it a lizard?
No, it is not a lizard.
It doesn't have a shell. It has legs. It's not a lizard. It does not breathe fire.
You wasted a question on the fire breathing one.
It's okay. I'm all right with it. Is it in the zoo? Do we have it in the zoo?
No.
Hold on. Here at Uproar, we also can bend the rules a little bit. So we're going to give you a little hint. It's not currently at the zoo.
That throws a wrench in what I was thinking. Is it venomous?
No.
Would you like a hint?
Sure.
Another hint, I should say. since Randy already gave you one.
It is on the continent of Asia.
So it has legs but no shell. Lives on the continent of Asia. Is not a lizard.
It's not currently at the zoo,
Not
but maybe
currently.
at one point in time was at the zoo.
At the zoo, but may have been.
We'll give you a hint. It definitely was at the zoo at one point in time, but not anymore. You're not breaking any records right now.
Is it some kind of gecko?
No.
No.
Geckos breathe fire, just as a fact check.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is it a boreal?
No, think the opposite direction.
We don't like big words here, so you can take those and leave.
Does it burrow?
Yes. They dig burrows in the banks of streams and wetlands.
Oh, it's a crocodilian, caiman, something along those lines.
Say that again?
Chinese alligator.
Hey, there you go.
Woo-hoo, woo-hoo. And for the record, I got it in 10.
Okay. So
Yeah,
that's where the Chinese alligator
They were
They
in
were
the
the
resided?
rainforest.
Okay.
They were in the rainforest habitat.
I didn't know that.
But we had 5 boys, and all they do was fight with and bite each other. So it became an issue because they were territorial, and so it became a nightmare for our veterinarian at the time. He was always having to patch them up, and then they had to be separated because they couldn't get along.
Hey, Linda, we're wrapping up our interview, so we just wanted to ask you, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to mention? Some kind of conservation initiative, anything going on at the zoo?
We really have focused a lot in the last several years as we continue to look at the most cutting edge best practices for modern zoos and aquariums. We continue to just try to think outside the box, be innovative in how we deliver our mission and our vision to our community, how we share it with them, how we support our conservation mission and action. And I think some of our biggest focuses have been on constantly focused on improving animal well-being. We also have to balance that with the guest experience because we want people to come to the zoo and really connect with wildlife. And so how do we create those connections? How do we essentially bond people to animals and nature so that they will change their behavior to help support animals in nature? So those are kind of just the things that we are constantly focusing on, and that's a gauge for how we make decisions about what we're going to do and not do, what animals we're going to care for, and what animals are going to move out of our zoo. So it's running things through our vision and our mission when we're making decisions and thinking about the community and the animals and then the future of our environment.
So what is our next big new area?
Well, we have several things that we are currently working on. We will be closing Legends of the Wild, or portions of it, starting next spring because we need to spruce up and do some work on our penguin habitat. But that habitat is over 20 years old. And with all the water and the guano, penguin poop, for those who don't know, Randy, we
You just got called out.
Guano.
so just making sure that like all of the pumps are working properly. We need to get some new filters in for the pool to stay clean, just that kind of stuff. So it's unfortunate that it doesn't necessarily enhance the guest experience, although the water will be clearer, but it is necessary. And then something that will enhance the guest experience and be super cool is we're going to double the size of the snow leopard habitat. So we're currently working on that project as well, and that will go under construction next year. I think it's going to be amazing because now both of the snow leopards can be on a habitat at the same time, or if we have cubs again, mom and cubs can be in one area and the male can be in the other. So it's going to be very beneficial for the welfare of the snow leopards and also for our guest experience. We're building a new animal hospital which is very needed because our first animal hospital was built in 1994, and our collection has grown significantly. You know, we have a lot more species, a lot larger species, so we need a larger facility to care for them. So that project is going to go under construction next spring as well, but that is going to not impact our guest experience here at the zoo because it's not anywhere that currently the guests are able to see or go. So the construction won't interfere with enjoying a zoo visit. And then we're going to be working on giraffes. So that's coming in a couple years. We'll break ground on it.
Woohoo!
I know, right? Exciting. And then we're also going to be renovating and reimagining Curious Creatures as a smaller project. So that'll be fun, figuring out what we're going to do there. And we're looking forward to getting into that more. But our biggest thing coming up in 2025 is dinosaurs.
Have we ever had dinosaurs here before?
We have not. So this will be a brand new exhibition at the zoo. Dinosaurs, the animatronic life-size, or what we think are life-size dinosaurs. So we're actually going to have 21 of them all throughout the zoo. So people can come in and enjoy just seeing them. And then we're also going to have some of those really cool baby dinosaur puppets that some of the staff will have out on a daily basis. So it should be a really, really interesting and fun dino exhibit.
What are the dates that Dino Trek will be going on?
So we are starting May 10th with the official opening. Obviously, as we're setting them up, because it takes a couple weeks, people will see that in action. So if you want to see how dinosaurs are assembled, you can stop by the zoo while we're doing it at the end of April. There's no way to hide them because they are very large. So it could be kind of cool for our visitors to kind of see them being set up and in the process of being installed. Some of them we have to put together, and then obviously we have to make them animatronic. And so I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Thanks so much for joining us here at Uproar and telling us all about the history of the zoo and where we're going in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda.
Thanks, Linda.
Thanks for inviting me.
Uproar is a production of the Akron Zoo, produced by Vince Jeffries, scheduling and recording by Zach Berkey, sound mixing and editing by Caleb Morgan, researchers Zach Berkey, Randy Thomas, Elena Bell, and Sam James. Uproar is a weekly podcast with new episodes every Thursday. For more information on the Akron Zoo, visit akronzoo.org. For more information on Uproar, visit akronzoo.org/uproar.